everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. Jem and me here. Today we have an amazing guest, Sheba Simpson-Amsterdam, a leader, a friend, a colleague. We both are part of Leaders of Color, and that's where we met. So I'm so honored to have you today. First, I want to congratulate you for your publishing your book, your very own book. I am on assignment, and so are you. I will be sharing the link so everybody can get their book in the show notes. So Sheba, thank you so much again for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about who Sheba is and what do you stand for and how this journey has been for you?
First of all, thank you for having me as a guest. As you said, we met through Leaders of Color, and it's just like we bonded as a family. So I'm very glad to be on your show, on your podcast. Sheba, who is Sheba? There's so many Shebas. I recently posted pictures of me from a child all the way up until where I'm at 53 years old. And so at every stage of my life, I call myself I was little Sheba, teenage Sheba, wild Sheba, free Sheba. And now I'm currently warrior woman Sheba. And this work that I do in the world is important to me because it's always about service. It didn't happen initially like that. I always thought that take care of me, take care of my family, and I'm good. But things never worked out when it was just doing those things. And eventually I got the message that my assignment here on earth is to be of service to others. And every time that I am of service to others, I don't expect anything else from it. It's just who I am. But if I've talked to you about professionally who I am an educator in New York City public schools for more than 20 years. I've wore myriad of hats. Currently, I'm a special education coordinator in a high school in the South Bronx. I've been a dean of students. I've been a liaison. I am currently a new teacher mentor. I was a former mentor of New York City Men Teach, who empower men of color to get into education, stay in there and learn some great strategies so that they can represent our communities and have students see that there are men who look just like them in the classroom, so they know that representation matters. I'm also a CEO. I know it's a lot, right?
No, girl, keep going. That's accomplishments. Yes, keep going.
The founder and CEO of I'm on Assignment Inc., which actually came out of me running for city council in 2021. And my platform was advocacy, education, housing, financial literacy, and all of those things are what we do at my nonprofit. I also work with 0 to 3-year-olds in early intervention, helping them achieve beyond. And that's actually the organization that I work for as a case manager. So there, again, it's always about service because, as Muhammad Ali said, service is the rent that we pay for being here on earth. And I think that I come from a lineage of people who serve, and it makes me feel good. And I think that we all should be reach out to a bigger circle than our small circle of who we know. The skills that we have can transform lives that we won't even know about. And that's what it's about for me.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And it shows, you're devoted to your community, you're devoted to make an impact, to add value. And that's what I love so much about you is like, you could see it, like you want to make a difference, and your devotion to the youth too.
Yeah.
That really, I feel like we have to talk a little bit about that because I feel like that's common ground and we can probably do some work in there. I'm already thinking about ideas of ways that we could collaborate.
Of course.
I'll tell you offline because it's good.
No problem.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. But I started reading your book, and the first thing that kind of popped up to me was your dedication to little Sheba. And I think that was pretty neat to like make that dedication to your inner child. I feel like that's very powerful and necessary in, a lot of ways. And I wanted you to share a little bit about your childhood and, how little Sheba was.
So I'm going to be very raw with you. I'm one of five children, and I have one sibling. My youngest sibling, was killed by a stray bullet in 2014. I'm literally the middle child, so I had two older brothers, two younger brothers, and I can honestly say, growing up, I felt very, very alone, and I found solace in reading. I had, God bless her soul, my great aunt Jody had a daughter. She was the only child. And so Jody had everything. So everything Jody had, she would, like in terms of her books, my aunt would then send them to us. And I found that I love to read at an early age. I went to school learning how to read, and I didn't even find that out until I was 43 years old. That I literally went to school knowing how to read and comprehend because I read so much. I just escaped into reading because my brothers were actually really, really mean to me, especially my oldest brother. At one point, I literally wanted to die. I was a 6-year-old wanting to kill herself.
Mm,
And little Sheba
I'm sorry.
found the courage and the strength to, say, no, that's not what we're going to do. And she always protected herself. She learned how to defend herself. She learned how to speak up for herself. And I may be speaking in third person, but
Yeah.
she is still me. She is
Yeah.
still that person, the little girl inside of me that felt invisible, felt vulnerable, had to learn how to fight like the boys, to protect both my physical space as well as my personal space. Um, and I thank her. I thank her for running her race and passing the baton to me. And I promised her that I'll get us to the finish line.
Wow, that's beautiful. Well, that's so powerful and very unfortunate, obviously, that you went through that. I'm sorry about that. And sometimes it's, um, you know, I would say unsure of saying sorry, right? Because you went through it, right? You went through it, you exceeded and you got out of that space. But
Yeah,
so many people don't get out of it, right? And I'm
right.
still in that space. And obviously we went through it and we still have like some hurt and wounds or things that we have to heal, but you surpassed that and you're a better version now. And I am
Yeah,
so proud of you for that.
you.
Because not a lot of people get to heal that stuff and say like openly, of the things they went through. And the reason I asked, one, because it's on your book and kind of popped to me, but I feel like our childhood really marks, the person who we are, right? And it really starts there,
Mhm.
how our parents were present or absent, or how our siblings, were there or not there. So it really makes a difference. So thank you for sharing that,
Thank
vulnerability
you.
to us. We really appreciate it. And I'm so happy where you are now. You're powerful. You're making it happen. So it's so powerful. Thank you. Um,
Thank you.
Apart from that, phase in your life as like a child, what would you say is another transformational phase in your life that you feel like really, I mean, obviously we never stop growing, but has impacted you to be the person you are today?
Becoming a mother.
Mm,
And I'm going to tell you, and I can only be transparent. My oldest son saved my life. My oldest son, Aaron Michael, saved my life. I got pregnant with Aaron at 19. I had him at 20 years old. And he gave me the wherewithal and the strength to do what I needed to do, which was to go back to college. I had made myself a promise that when he turned 1 year old, I was going to go to college. My son's birthday is September 20th. I had been in, when he turned 1, I had been in school 3 weeks.
Wow.
So um, he grounded me. He gave me something to love and something that loved me back unconditionally. And it made me realize that, again, there was something outside of myself that I needed to accomplish because no one else was going to do what I did for him.
Right.
So that was becoming a mother. Now, I'm going to be very honest too. Um, Parenting is not easy.
Mm.
And there is
I
an
believe that.
inner wild child in me. Um, there's an inner gypsy in me. And I've made some mistakes as a mom, right? There's things that I wish I had said differently, done differently, allowed them to experience. Because sometimes when we live in fear of what happened to us, sometimes we project it on our children.
Yes.
And in hindsight, there are things that I wish I had allowed Aaron Michael to experience. I wish I had things that I wish I had done differently with Egypt. And then came along Noah, and it's always a work in progress.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm very passionate about parenting. I'm not a parent myself, but through my healing and past experiences, like it's like, I'm contempting, like, I don't know, like, like being in that space where you're like, it's so hard and so difficult, and I don't want my kids, like my future kids, to go through what I went through. So, like, doing the work and healing and being able to be another person, um,
Mm-hmm.
a better version of yourself for your kids, like that's tough because
Yeah,
you can't give what you don't have, you know?
right.
Yeah.
And you can't teach what you're now healed from either.
Mm. Yeah, that's powerful. That's a whole nother podcast right there.
Uh, uh,
I love it. So how have you been able to identify and exercise your purpose?
Ooh. So initially, when I went to school because I knew I needed an education and I needed to take care of my son. However, when I got to undergrad, I've finally saw instructors that looked like me. So I went to Catholic school from first to 12th grade. And in all of that time, I only had one Black teacher. And she was not even my teacher. She was my homeroom teacher, and she was miserable. And, she used to take our attendance, and that was it. Like, there was like literally zero engagement. So when I went to college and met professors who were people who looked like me, successful, empowering, extremely intelligent, I said, I want to be that for other kids, right? And so I've always had this loyalty to education. I believe that education is, as Malcolm X said, is the key to your tomorrows, right? And I wanted to be to other kids was what wasn't given to me in the classroom.
Mm.
So I pursued teaching. And initially, going into public schools, I was in shock of the chaos, the disorganization, because I didn't come from that. One thing I could say about Catholic school, they're going to do 3 things. There's going to be order. You're going to get everything that you need, and you're going to come out knowing how. Most of us came out knowing how to read and write, as well as basic math, right? So when I started working as a teacher, it was just shocking to me. And the first month and a half, I literally either cried at work, cried at home, cried on my way from work. And I said, no, my kids need, because I always call kids my kids, because I have ownership of them. When you have ownership of something, you value it more. You see the greatness and the brilliance in them. And so I wanted to give them what I was given to my oldest son, because my first group of young people were 8 years old. They were the same, literally the same age as my son, Aaron Michael, was when I started teaching. And I saw the grave difference in the skill set, the love or lack of love for learning. And they were only 8 years old in third grade. And so I was determined to get them to be readers and to change their mind about their teacher, about teachers, and about going to school. And that's what I did.
I love it.
And
Yeah, I
it's
went to a public
been
school too.
whirlwind ever since.
I went to a public school too, and I feel like um it was really unfortunate, right? Like I am mutual feelings about education, the value of it. I always was like the learner, or always getting the good grades and pushing to be better, and loving education, because one thing is to just go to school just because you have to. And
Right.
the other thing is to actually love it and find satisfaction and
Mm-hmm.
purpose. Right. And I did see that a lot, unfortunately, in the public school system, that, there was not order, there was not passion or organization, or I don't know. It was a lot of lacking, unfortunately. And that projects, right? That projects in the opportunities that they have in the future, and the relationships they make, the success, unfortunately, right?
Yes.
The mindset, and so much. So I really appreciate the work you're doing, and just making, one person's life better in the classroom could really impact the future. So
It
you're
definitely does.
doing a really good job and meaningful work. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
Another topic I would say that I wanted to touch upon in your book, I know you mentioned divinity, and I wanted to ask, what is your relationship with God?
Oh, so I was raised Catholic. Okay, I went to Catholic school. But I used to get in trouble a lot in religion class because there were so many questions that nobody wanted to answer. And so I got in trouble a lot. And so I was turned off. And then, but I was raised in a house that, there is respect, and there is rules that we follow based on the Bible. But then as an adult, I got to the point where I'm like, I've been so church hurt. I went tried to be Baptist, I tried to be Protestant. And you go to these churches and you see these cliques, you see all this high drama, and you see pastors saying that they are, your confidants, so you can go to them for counseling, and then they get on the pulpit and they're using your situation as their Sunday sermon. And I saw so many people hurt by that. But I'm definitely a spiritual person. I know that there is a power higher than me that protects me. I, I say my prayers, maybe not on my knees, but I pray incessantly in my head. I pray for others. I pray for me. I pray for the world, because I know that love overshines and outshines hate. I know that it may look like the devil, if we want to use that, is winning, but I do believe that in the end, good does surpass evil. And people show us every day that there are human beings who are angels just in human form. I've experienced people who helped me out of the blue. For example, years ago, I um, went out to Maryland and I went to visit someone, and it was not a good situation. And in my haste to get out of there and pack in my car, I put my wallet on top of my car and drove off. And I saw this family, Black people, and they was like, "Oh, we saw something fall off your car, but we didn't, but no one honked and said anything to me," right?
Mhm.
So I literally had no money. I'm coming from Maryland, so I have to go get gas and I have to do this and I'm like, how am I going to get home? And this woman out of nowhere, this white woman, are you okay? Are you safe? And I was like, no, I'm not. I lost my entire wallet. And she said, well, how much money would you need to get home? So I remembered the tolls that I had paid going to Maryland. And I was like, probably about $30, the woman took out $30. I said, can you give me a phone number and your name? She was like, there's no need for that.
Mm.
Make sure you get home safely. And so there are humans who are walking around, or angels walking around in human form. So fast forward, I get to New York again. Now I lost my keys and everything. So my keys, everything is lost. So I had no anything. When you go to the bank, you have to show your ID if you want to get money, because my cards, everything was gone. I go into the bank. I need to speak to the bank manager. At the time, it was called Commerce Bank before it was TD Bank. So that's how long I've been with TD Bank. I was with
Loyal
before it
customer.
was TD Bank. And so the bank manager comes out. I tell her my story and she says, okay. She said, who opened your account here? Now, do you remember who opened your bank account? Do you know the person's name?
No.
God is the universe is very funny. So when I opened my account there, the young lady's name was Walona. She was this really pretty young lady with this old school name, and Walona was the family friend of the from Good Times. So the Evans family. So she was their next door neighbor. So I said, did your mother, when I was opening my account, I said, your mother named you after Walona from Good Times? And she said, yeah. So when the bank manager asked me who opened up your bank account, I really feel like that was God, because who would ask that question and who would remember it?
Mm.
So yeah, and that's how I got money, got a new card and everything.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah,
insane. It's crazy. Yeah, it's funny how he shows up in certain ways where we're asking for help or we need it, right? It's amazing. And I ask because of, that's so important in the purpose and finding the purpose and
yeah.
exercising it and staying passionate and fired up about it, making it
But
happen.
can I tell you something? When I wrote this book, it wasn't even about God. It was about finding your purpose, knowing that you were brought to this world um, for a specific reason, and given specific calls on your life and specific skills that were either innate or skills or talents that were going to be built upon by the people you encountered in your life. And so God is always centered in my life. But when I wrote this book, I'm honestly can tell you that it was not about God. It was about finding your earthly purpose.
That is impactful. Because I feel like coming into your purpose, like I mean, that's my next question. So, I'm talking from experience. To find your
Mm-hmm.
purpose, you have to like do a lot of work, check your passions, see what makes you happy, what, fires up your soul and feel like you would do without even being paid. So
Yes.
like what would you say to someone who's trying to find their purpose, right? From your experience, right? And in your walk and trying to find faith at the same time. Because
Yeah.
in order to kind of know your purpose and know that you're gonna fulfill it, you have to have faith, some type of faith.
Yeah, you have to have some type of faith, right?
Yeah.
So for me, there's four things that you should do. One, whatever you're good at, whatever people are always saying, you're really good at that. And that is probably something that is part of your calling. The second one is reaching out to people you respect. And, and I mean really respect, not just someone, that's fly by night, but someone that you feel confident that what they're going to tell you is going to be direct you in the way in which you should go. And it's not that they're going to give you all these glittery words that you're perfect, but they're going to tell you, this is who I see you are as. Because sometimes other people see in us what we can't see in ourselves. Yeah. And I know that was true for me for many, many years. Because if you can't believe it in yourself, you can't do the work. And the work has to get done. So you have to get out of your way and find, this voice within you that says, this is what you're supposed to be doing, or you're going to keep hitting a wall. And everything that you touch is not going to come to fruition because you're not walking in your true purpose.
That's true. That's so true. So you said, what are you good at? Reaching out to people you respect. And what the third one?
So going to chapter 4 of the book.
I love it.
Go into chapter, it's either 3 or 4, hold on. Get into your purpose. Chapter 3. Pay attention to what you're good at. Ask other people. Think about what makes you happy. And that goes back to what you said earlier. Would you do this if you weren't going to get paid? Mm-hmm. Right? And then don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. And one of the things that when I did my keynote speaking on the 1st of January, one of the things that I told people that when I was a kid, my brothers were trying to teach me how to ride a bike. And I kept falling and hurting myself. And then I eventually gave up. And to this day, I don't know how to ride a bike. So I tell people, don't be like me, go out there and fail at something, but keep trying until you get good at it. Step out of your comfort zone, do something that you never thought that you could do. So one of the things I did, people think because, I'm an educator, I'm in front of people all the time, I can easily, public speak. Yeah, to a certain extent, right? But I stepped out on faith that what the message that I had for the world was going to be impactful enough that other people would want to hear it.
Right.
And so that's what I did.
It's bigger than you.
It's bigger than me.
Yeah, it is.
So those are 4 things that you have to do.
I love it. I'm taking notes.
Well, you have the book, girl. You got the book.
Yes, I know, but still just taking notes. You have to hear it more than once and kind of
it, so. That's when learning takes place.
Yep, hear it more than once. So how would you identify or discover your skills and talents to know, like, okay, this aligns with, the path or the purpose?
Well, I know that for me, being of service of others, and I have this unique way about me that as a child, people always told me there's deepest secrets. Even literally as a child, grown-ups would tell me things and then would be like, I don't even know why I told you that. And matter of fact, I had a conversation with an older woman last night, and she just started telling me all of this stuff, and she stopped in mid-sentence. She was like, I just feel so comfortable talking to you. Yeah. And that is why I have been a successful teacher, because kids realize, I'm sorry, my phone, I thought it was plugged up. Kids realize that that I hear them, I see them, I value them, and it is part of who I am and the work that I do. I'm grounded in the fact that I know that I'm not perfect, but I know that I'm a connector. I know that have the ability to put two really unique and distinct personalities together, and they create magic. I don't through the work that they do, through the conversations they have. So I call myself a connector.
Yes, I love
People say,
it.
well, people say stop introducing people because all they're gonna do is knock you out the box and they're gonna take all the credit. I said, let me tell you something. What's for me is for me.
Mm,
If their connection is going to help someone else, I'm
mm,
okay with that because they're gonna always know when they see me that whatever they have, part of that came from a connection I made with them. So
right.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. It's very humble of your part because I mean I could relate to it. It's funny how we are so similar.
Oh yeah.
I'm a connector too, and I learned that when we took our assessment in leaders of color, that's one of my strengths. And I have seen that, you know, where you connect people and it comes and flourish and becomes something else. So I mean it is a gift for sure. It is a gift. And it's part of creating communities, right? And that's powerful in itself.
Can
Uh,
you see me? I'm sorry, I went out.
yeah, I can see you.
Okay.
Okay. How do you defeat fear and doubt? Because it comes to the best of us.
Ooh, I do a lot of things scared.
Yeah.
I, Running for city council, I did it scared. I did it unknowledgeable about a lot of things. You know, if you remember the conversation I told we had, and I told you all the sabotage that took place in regards to my campaign. But I feel like fear is supposed to push you, not to stop you. And I live by this code, and it's actually a chapter in an anthology that I'm a part of. You could block me, but you can't stop me.
There you go. That's that's it.
I'm
It's
gonna
so
find a
true.
way. I am
Comes
going to.
and goes, you know. I feel like that's part of the human's experience to be, you know, fearful and doubtful about because we're getting out of our comfort zone, like you mentioned before. Something you
Mhm.
haven't done, or that you're like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna, you know, not do
I
it.
had out of the bad habit, and it's not even get out of it. I'm still a work in progress with procrastination. I always say, "Oh, I'm the comeback kid. I'll wait, I'll wait, I'll wait." But I'm always like, "Well, what if you had did what you were supposed to do? Yeah,
Hmm.
this is good, but imagine what it could have been if you had did what you were supposed to do in the time that you were supposed to do it."
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
so
Girl,
I
I feel attacked.
think yeah, I'm still working.
It's a work in progress. It's a
It's,
work in progress. We're not perfect. It's something, you know, that we work on every day, and that's part of the journey.
yeah.
What is one of the greatest advice that someone has given you?
Uh, so much.
You could share a couple more
I'm
gems,
trying.
more gems for our listeners.
I'm, I'm gonna be really honest. When I was interviewed by Judith Rivera, when I started, I was interviewed to teach, and she suggested that I became a special education teacher. And after the interview, she said, "Okay, so you've passed my, I want you, but you have to go through this other procedure, and you have to meet this group of people, and and to get offered the job." And I'm like, "Okay, no problem." Blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
So I'm walking out her office, and she calls me back, and I'm in my head, "Oh God, what happened?" Maybe she rescinded. I turn around, I said, "Yes, Miss Rivera." She says, "When they offer you the job, and they're gonna offer you the job, take the job."
Oh my God. She manifested it. She never
That
knew.
was that was great advice. Another piece of advice. I'm trying to think like what it. Oh, it wasn't advice, but it was an uh an observation that my one of my professors made. So we had this assignment that we had to stand in front of the class and we had to tell who we were and our life experiences. This was a special education law class. And I told him all the experiences that I had went through, and he was staring at me. And I'm saying to myself, what is this man staring at me for? And then he said, you know what, Sheba? You have internal fortitude. He said, I don't know if I could have survived all of that. He was like, kudos to you. And at that point, I never thought about my life experiences. I experienced it, I felt it, I moved past it. So I've always kept that phrase, internal fortitude. Never give up your internal fortitude. It'll get you to places that anxiety, fear, anger will shut you into a corner. So my words to anyone is to be committed to having internal fortitude. And then I'm going to talk about Michelle Obama.
Yeah.
When they go high, when they go low, we go high. But that was just in recent times, right? But I also am that person too, that like Malcolm X said, stay low and keep shooting.
Yes.
You know, keep low and keep shooting. You know, don't let anyone deter you from what you know that you're supposed to do. And so that's what I continue to do.
I love it. And it's just keep pushing and keep, even though, you know, things come, life happens, right? Obstacles, red tape, you know, I
Yep.
mean, I commend you, like being in the education system is a hot mess, but we need you in there.
We need them there. And then we also and then I can't not mention Maxine Waters when she was questioning one of those people in one of those panels, and she was like, reclaiming my time. I'm reclaiming my time. Like I'm not going to allow anyone to take me out of a place or make me go through verbal judo with them based on what they think I should be doing, how I should be responding, or who I should be. I'm a monolith, right? I'm not a monolith. I am so many people within one person. There are so many things within me that you'll never be able to define me. And if you try to define me, I'm going to say, okay, that's what you think.
Right.
Until I tell you who I am, you can't tell me who I am.
Yep. And nobody can tell you who you are.
Right.
That's it. That's it. So I also wanted to ask you, what is the most important lesson you have learned in your lifetime?
Never do anything for money. Never do anything for money. Because if you think that money is the most important thing in life, you're going to become a shell of a person. You're going to lose your soul. You're going to lose your integrity. You possibly could lose your freedom. And you can lose people who really could have been an impact, that could be an impact on you. One of the great things that I believe about myself is that I have loyalty, and loyalty means everything to me. There are people I can't stand who have shared stories and experiences that they had that I'll go to my grave with, because that's just who I am, right? My character says that I need to be able to look at myself in the mirror. And if I sell my soul, then I'm selling out my people, I'm selling out my destiny, and I'm selling myself short. So never do anything for money.
I
that's
love.
going to make you look at yourself in a way that you're ashamed.
Yes. And I have another question for you to conclude. And after that, you can ask me questions too. I always like to give my guests a chance to ask me a question if they have anything in mind. Um, what do you want your legacy to be after you part this earth?
Ooh, that's a powerful question. I want my legacy to be that people know that I cared.
Mhm.
Um, I think a lot of times that I'm misunderstood, and I don't try to explain myself to people. I just show people. A lot of times people treat me badly when they first initially meet me. And then when they realize that they made a mistake and they want to come back and be decent, I'm like, no, keep that same energy. Maybe not those words, because, keep that same energy just came around. But I let people be who they are, and I'm going to be who I am.
Mhm.
So for my legacy would be is that I cared, that I educated somebody's children, um, that I made a change in my community, and that I loved. I loved wholeheartedly.
That's awesome. That's all we need. Right? That's all we need, love. More of that in this world.
And that I'm not above getting dirty when I need to. In terms of I'm going to fight until it's my last breath for equity and progressiveness in this country, because it's owed to people who look like you and myself.
Hmm. It is.
So I want my legacy to be that I was the change that I wanted to see in the world.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Do you have any questions for me?
Yes. What made you decide to create this platform, to create this podcast, to give people like me a voice, to tell our stories?
Yes. Thank you for that question. Nobody has really asked me this question before, so I'm honored that you asked. And the reason I created this platform was because I've been through a journey similar to you, very lonely and independent growing up, right? And looking for motivation and ways to heal and to grow. And education was my fuel for a long time. That was like, okay, I'm doing good at school. At least I could do that, right? At least I could
Right.
have that. And so that was like what kept me sane in a lot of ways. And so I was like, there's so many people out there with stories, with, traumas, generational traumas, relationship, parenting, lack of communication, just a lot of hurt and emptiness. And I was
Yes.
like, I need to like get this out. Like people don't talk enough about like traumas when they were younger as a kid or present traumas and lack of communication with parents and daughters and sons and boundaries, and all these things that I talk about in this podcast, I feel like we don't talk about it enough. And I feel like
Right.
it's the key to make us more connected, feel more loved. And this is the purpose of it. Is like to use all these tools to talk about these things and use it to become a better version of ourselves. Because if we don't talk about it, then we don't, know about it, we don't resolve it, and so that just is just like a void inside of us, like a, a heavy heart of things that
Yes.
we don't get out. So this is why I created Gem and Me, to like get the word out, talk about these things, heal as a community, become better, and tell people they're not alone. Like everybody's going through something, everybody went through trauma, everybody has things that we battle with, didn't day in and day out, and
Yes.
we're human, and it's part of, we project sometimes, or celebrities and social media, that people are perfect. We're not perfect. Everybody is going through something, everybody is
Yes.
fearful, everybody's fearful, You know, everybody's going through something. So just like knowing you're not alone. And that's what beautiful.
I'm sorry, Bella is a whole
It's okay.
recording, Bells. That is amazing. Can you tell me the Gemini? I thought it's maybe she's a Gemini.
I am. I am.
We're
Yeah,
both Geminis.
yeah, Gemini sisters.
Right, because I'm the one who created our birthday calendar.
Yes, yes. I'm a Gemini too. We're
Yeah,
Gemini. It's crazy how we
yeah,
like or like filtered.
yeah,
I always attract Geminis. It's so funny, but it happens.
yeah. That is so fun.
Yeah.
Really a great experience. I actually miss all of you. It's so weird that we met one time in person
Mhm.
and then at graduation, right? It was like, but we bonded in those 6 months via
Yeah. Zoom.
the Zoom,
Yeah. We
you know?
became family through Zoom. It's funny, but it's
Yeah,
so true. I miss
yeah.
you guys too. And we were vulnerable and real, right? We had that space.
Or,
And it was a great space and so honored to know you and to have you
yeah,
on here. So proud of the work you're doing.
I'm
Thank you
proud of
for, being here and being vulnerable and open to your story.
thank you. I'm looking forward to seeing the great work that you continue to do in the world.
Thank
As
you.
look at is I know you're like almost 20 years, 20, 30 years younger than me. So my advice to you as a older person is just to live, live and make the choices that's best for you, not for someone else, not for um definitely not for what society says we should be doing. Do it for you. Live your life for you. Don't live with regrets because I have so many. I have so many regrets.
Oh, hi, Bella.
Yeah, Bella,
I
say
love
hi.
I love doggies. I have two of my own. But thank you so much. That's so powerful because, life, it comes obviously with, like I said, your childhood, your beliefs, those traumas of generations passed on to you,
Mhm.
mindsets, limitations and doubts and fears and you name it, right?
Yeah,
And we have so much to live for, and we don't live sometimes our potentials because all those things that I mentioned are
yeah,
holding us back.
yes.
And that,
Fear,
yeah.
fear stopped me from going to law school. Scarcity mindset. Oh, I can't afford it, and then I end up with my first child.
Mhm.
You know, so yeah, I'll take chances. Take chances. Get on that plane and fly. You
I
know,
love
um, buy that house, whatever it is that you want to do. Set boundaries early in relationships. And you know what? I'm gonna give you some advice that I wish someone had told me in my early years. When dating, give yourself 30 days before anything intimate happens, because in 30 days, you'll be able to see who this person is financially, how they interact with their families, um, their occupation, how they deal with um, setbacks, how they deal with their exes, because that always shows up somewhere.
Mhm.
What are their beliefs in family, their religious beliefs? You'll find all of that out in 30 days, and you'll be able to make a sound choice. Should this person be someone that I become intimate with, share myself with, both spiritually and physically? Is that someone I want to have children with?
Mm. Yes.
Because that is major, and I wish someone had been there to say those things to me. But I think about my mother was very young with 4 children. By the time she was 22, she had 4 kids. um you know we make decisions based on our mentality
Mhm.
or our experience and our knowledge. So I would say though that's my advice.
Thank you. I really appreciate these gems because, we don't talk, like I said, we don't talk about these things, and having you here, obviously, it's an honor, but like the experience really I cherish, right? Not only for me, but those who are listening right now, because we really need it. There's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of disconnect, like I mentioned with parents and things like that. And it's that gap, right, of not speaking the things that have to be spoken. And that's why the patterns continue to happen, right? History continues to happen because we
That
don't correct
is-
it.
Sadly, that is the truth.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for being
You're
here.
very
It's really an honor. And you're always, invited and always welcome here in Gem and Me, the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.